Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, right about now, NXT had a very interesting episode. If you probably can guess, well, TNA has invaded NXT. This is something I personally thought this was coming. But however, this particular event was their go home show before this coming Saturday, No Mercy. So we'll see how things will progress once we get there. But first things first, we're going to catch up with Stardom. We're able to see, of course, 3 events. Now, however, I've been unable to see one of them. I may do that at another time if it's available, but if not, I apologize. So basically, we're going to be following, of course, Nagano-Saku that took place on the 15th of September. Then we have, of course, Fukuyama on the 21st of September. And then finally, of course, Osaka on the 23rd of September. But that one in particular has 2 interesting co-main events. The first one is a showdown between, of course, Natsupoi and Yuna Mizumori. As you know, Yuna Mizumori has been struggling recently in hopes to obtain the high-speed belt, but she faces against, of course, Natsupoi, who is now co-leader of the Cosmic Angels and a former high-speed champion. You probably can guess how that's going to roll up, so that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And of course, the main event, the Artist Championships, of course, Hate defends their belt against the newly formed stars, Hanan, Sayaida, and Momokogo. But the real question is, can they pull it off? You know how dirty and tactical Hate can be as we see them. And we'll just have to wait and see. And then, as always, we cap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics, such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one, or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us, so click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on a like button or nice comments in the description down below. Now, enough with the jibber jabbers, let's get to it. So, as I mentioned, we're going to do 3 events from Stardom. So, let's begin with the one with Nagano-Saku. Okay, Stardom. In Nagano-Saku, this happened, of course, on the 15th of September in Nagano Prefecture, Budokan. Now, I don't know exactly what area is that, but yes, now we opened up with a very interesting 6-woman tag match. First team we have God's Eye members, Rani Agama and the current future champion Hina. They team up with the current CML Japan Women's Champion, the Bear, Koguma. Yep, they actually take on EXV's Hanako Wakasukiyama, and of course, they team up with Azuki, which is very interesting. You know, Azuki and Koguma tag best friends on the opposite side of the spectrum. But the one thing many of you remember, Koguma likes to do, of course, the Kuma dance, and that's something that people enjoy. But the one group don't like that is her teammates that she's teamed up at the moment, which is God's Eye, Raniagami, and Hina. Of course, Koguma was trying to tell Raniagami to do the Kuma pose onto, of course, onto Azuki, but she refused to do so because remember, uh, Raniagami was going through hell because of that, but it didn't happen. But luckily, it was, of course, Hina, who, as you all know, who is in a preliminary match with Hanako, was able to pick up the win against her with the Ghetto Clutch, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have a three-way match. We have, of course, Kyoku Furuzawa versus Emma Maishima versus Rian. Now, remember, of course, there's different types of levels of people, of rookies, of course. Rian has a bit more experience than both Furuzawa and Maishima combined. So you probably can guess that's how it was going to play out. Because it was Rian with the bridge onto Maishima, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our next match, we have the members of Mi Vida Loca, Akira Kuragani, and Bozilla. They take on Star members Yuria Him and B. Priestley. Now, of course, many of you know as B. Priestley as the newest member, both Yuria and B. Priestley, the newest members of Stars, they have to learn how to find their footing. However, but the only problem they need to deal with is Bozilla, who is the much stronger competitor, much dangerous out of everyone. And that's exactly what they should have known, because Bozilla doesn't play games. And she was able to pick up the win when she put Yuria Him in a pile driver, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, adios. Now we got the other members of Hate, Rina, Konami, and Natsuko Tora. They take on Momo Koko, Sai Hanan as of course, this part of the preliminary match for the upcoming artist belts, and that's exactly what it's going to be. But of course, when it comes to Hate, we know their tactics. They like to take their opponents outside the ring. They try to soften them up as much as possible until they win, and that's exactly what they were doing. But it was Rina who picked up the win with a double knee drop onto Momokogo, and just like that, it was over. However, Konami and Rina sent a direct message to Stars that no matter what, that they will retain as champions, and of course making fun of them for what they are. But you know how they are. They think they're better because they cheat their way through. But we'll see how that rolls up. Now, our next match, we have the members of God's Eye, Kyoka Ku, Kotatsu, Tomoka Inama, Lady C, Amisuri, and Saki Kashima taking on the full force of the Cosmic Angels, Sayaka Kurara, Aya Sakura, Yuna Mizumori, Sayuri Anu, and Natsupoi. So, yeah, it was a pretty good match, but the one thing that was interesting, as you all know, I mentioned time and time again, about Yuna Mizumori, who was trying to put an effort to elevate her high-speed standards. Remember, she has pulled up a little bit more. She's been interested in the high-speed belt for quite some time, and she came up she came up short the first time, but the second time ended up in the time limit draw. And now she wants to have another opportunity, which she may get. But she come across someone who used to be a high-speed champion, and that is, of course, Saki Kashima, until she put her in the Kishikase, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Setermino. Just like that, it was completely over. Now, our main event, we have Neo Genesis, Mayu Masaki, Azumi, and Starlight Kid taking on Hate, consistent of Azusa Inaba, Momo Watanabe, and Saya Kamitani. Now, treat this one as a preliminary match. As you know, Azumi is putting her New Japan Strong Women's title on the line against Kashima, while Kashima is putting her red belt on the line as well. As you know, Saya Kamitani is determined to elevate Stardom into darkness, which is something she wants to do. But the real victor in this one, as it turned out to be, is none other than Azumi, when she applied a double foot stomp onto Azusa Inaba, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Azumi had some words to say to Kamitani during the post match. You probably can guess about their upcoming match for winner takes all match to take place real soon. So we'll see what happens until then. But as of right now, we're officially done with this one with Stardom. Let's move on to the next one. So let's do that right now. Okay, as we continue with more with Stardom, as you all know, I mentioned I was unable to see the show from September 20th. I don't remember what place this took place, but yeah. But let's start with the we're doing the one on the 21st of September in Fukuyama at the Fukuyama uh, somewhere. But yes, anyway, we opened up with B Priestley, no wait, no, Emma Maishima and Kyoko Furuzawa. They take on God's Eye, Ranegami, and Tomoka Inaba. Now, of course, when it comes to Maishima and Furuzawa, they are the least experienced wrestlers in the match. But you look at Tomoka and Rana, they are in fact the most they have experience than these two combined, and they're able to do so thanks to, of course, Inaba with submission onto to Furuzawa, and just like that, Furuzawa just gave up, and then it was over. Next up, we have EXV members Rian, Hanako, and Waka Tsukiyama. They take on God's Eye, Lady C, Ami Suri, and of course Hina. This is part of the preliminary match between both Ami Suri and Hina for the future championship, which we know is going to come up real soon. Now, of course, you ask yourselves who's going to walk out with the momentum in this match. Now, of course, you can see the stacks that you have two girls who are about almost the same height, and that is, of course, Lady C and Hanako. If you guys remember when Hanako first debuted, she teamed up with Lady C before, of course, Hanako joined Maika and formed EXV along with Nina. And that kind of plays it out. But in the end, of course, it was Hina onto a brainbuster onto Waka Tsukiyama, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, there was a bit of a post-match promo between both Hina and Hanako. As you know, they have their upcoming match for this belt, and that's coming up real soon. Now, our next match, we had a very interesting three-way. We have Sayaka Kurara versus Azuki versus Saki Kashima. Now, I don't know what the heck was happening with Kashima. She was showing a bit of affection towards Kurara. I don't know if it's because of her connection towards Tam. I'm not sure, because if you guys remember, there was like a bit of a weird way how Kashima acted around Tam, and everybody knows that Kurara was very close to Tam before she retired, and that kind of sets it up. And there was a moment where Kurara has Azuki in a chokehold, and for whatever reason, Kashima decides to give her a hug, like, and she's like, "What the hell?" I think she was confused, but I felt bad for the referee Daichi. He got involved in this whole nonsense that Kashima brought in, and then everybody, Kurara, Azuki, and then him get involved. But however, in the end, it was in fact Azuki somehow was able to put both Kurara and Kashima in a both of them in the Mahistral at the same time, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, she won by pinning both of them. I thought that was pretty amazing. So that was a cool one. Now, our next match, we have the members of Hate, consistent of Azusa Inaba and Momo Watanabe. They take on Mi Vida Loca, Akira Kuragani, and Bozilla. Now, of course, Bozilla is the one person, of course, Hate has to consider more dangerous, more predictable than any other person they have dealt with. But in the end, it was Momo who walked away with the win when she applied the B driver on Kuragani, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have the Cosmic Angels, Aya Sakura, Yuna Mizumori, um, Sayori Anu, and Natsupo taking on the full force of Neo Genesis, consistent of Miyu Amasaki, Mei Seta, Azumi, and Starlight Kid. Now, of course, many of you know that Yuna Mizumori is determined to try to get an opportunity, try to prove that she can surpass Mei Seta as our current high speed champion. But however, she ended up in the clutches of another high speedster, and that person is of course the current New Japan Strong Women's Champion Azumi, and putting her in a submission, and of course she had to tap out, and just like that, it was over. But however, during the post match, Inazumori went on the mic. I don't know what she spoke, but Natsupo, on the other hand, decided that how about you and I have a match, because for those who know this, Yuna Mizumori has been aiming for that belt. What better way for her to be challenged by someone who used to hold that belt and was in that category as a high speedster? So we'll see where that leads us from there. Now, our main event, we have, of course, the full force of stars, Yuria, him, B. Priestley, Momokogo, Saya Ida, and Hanan taking on Hate, consistent of Rina, Raka, Natsuko Tora, Sai Kamitani, and Konami. Now remember, this is a preliminary match for the artist belts coming up. Rina, Fukigen Death, and Konami will defend them against star members, the current core members, of course, Momokogo, Saida, and Hanan. But of course, when it comes to Hate, we have seen them time and time again with their usual tactics, soften their opponents, using weapons, and that's exactly what they were doing. But in the end, it was Konami with the Triangle Lancer onto Saida that allowed her to pick up the win by submission, and just like that, it was over. And then once again, we went through the post-match promo. Hate had some words to say to Stars, so we'll see how that rolls up from there. So that's the one we're going to be focusing on next. So let's get to it. Okay, final review for Stardom. Now, this is not the end of the episode, in case anybody asks. So, Stardom made a pit stop at Osaka at the Edion Arena, Osaka number 2, and this was the recent show on a Tuesday for everybody. First match, we have an interesting combination. We have Cosmic Angel members Sayaka Kurara, Aya Sakura, and Sayuri Anu. They team up with B. Priestley of Stars, and of course, the current New Japan Strong Women's Champion and member of Neo Genesis, Azumi, taking on Hate members consistent of Azusa Inaba, Momo Watanabe, Natsuko Tora, and Saya Kamitani. Now you can tell that there's this part of the preliminary match between both Azumi and Saya Kamitani. But what's interesting, of course, Azumi's very happy to team up with B. Priestley. For those who may or may not know this, B. Priestley used to be a member of Queen's Quest alongside Azumi. This was around the time when Io Sky, at the time known as Io Shirai, was still in Stardom. And that's how far they knew each other until, of course, B. Priestley turned on them and joined Oedo Tai, and now she's with Stars. But I'm sure she will love nothing more to get a bit of a measure of payback against Kamitani and probably the rest of Hate, for whatever reason. But in the end, it was a definite win by the combine of the Cosmic Angels, B. Priestley, and Azumi, when Azumi applied a double foot stomp onto Inaba, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. However, Azumi had some words to say to Kamitani for their upcoming match for the winner takes all, which is going to be very interesting to see until we get there. So stay tuned for that. Our next match is a 3-way tag team match. Team number 1, we have the members of Mi Vida Loca, Akira Kuragani, and Bozilla versus Rice or Bread. Members of EXV consisted of Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama. And then finally, Neo Genesis, what's her name? Mei Seta and Starlight Kid. So you probably can tell that it's going to be a very interesting matchup. However, of course, The one thing that was surprising is Waka Tsukiyama was able to pick up a win onto Mei Sita using her move, the Austrian suplex, which is like the roll up type. And just like that, it was over. However, Waka indicated that she could be the next competitor. We know that Mei Sita still has some unfinished business with Yuna Mizumori because the last time they fought, the match ended in a 10-minute time limit draw, which was not satisfying, but they will not let that one go. So we don't know when that'll happen. I mean, if Yuna wins the high speed belt, that means she has to defend against Waka. So we'll see what happens from there. Now, our next match, we have Kyuki Furuzawa and Emma Maishima. They team up with stars Yuria Him. They take on Godzai, Lady C, Amisuri, and Saki Kashima. I have to say they're pretty good as well. But however, the factor is you got Kyuki Furuzawa and Emma Maishima, the least experienced in the team, most likely be the targets on this one because in the end, it was Lady C that was able to pick up the win with a big boot onto Yuri Him, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 was over. But however, there was a moment during the post match where Lady C tried to get a hug from Saki Kashima, but Kashima is not a fan of Lady C, but she steer clears from her, despite the fact that Lady C is trying to win her approval, which of course is understandable. I mean, she needs to open up to her, but yeah. Now, speaking of Godzai, our next match is a showdown between Godzai members. First, we have Rane Agami and Tomoka Inaba. As you all know, they have become a very good cohesion team, and they were tag team during the tag league last year. And they face, of course, Kiyuka Kotatsu and Hina in this match. And I thought this match was pretty good, but there was some great striking capability coming from both Kotatsu and Inaba, and I thought it was fantastic. But in the end, it was, of course, Inaba with the Michinoku driver onto Kotatsu, and just like that, it was over. But however, Inaba grabbed the mic for a little post-match promo. Apparently, she said that everybody has to wait for the person they're expecting, and it turned out to be Shuri, and everybody were happy. And not to mention, Kashima had that look on her face, like she's so happy to see her. Because, as you all know, it was Shuri who saved her after, one time when Oedo Tai, at the time, before becoming hate, still continued to make her life a living hell. And now she is happy to see her. And I mean, I know Shuri had a hard time trusting her, but at the same time, she opened up to her, knowing, despite the fact that Kashima is Kashima, and there's nothing anybody can do to change her, but at least she's helpful in some ways. But it's great. But Shuri did mention that she'll be back soon, and not to mention, she will try to do whatever it takes to win back the IWGP Women's Championship, which currently is in the hands of Sari. So we'll just have to wait until that day happens. Now, moving on to our next match, we have a Cosmic Angels showdown. Yuna Mizumori versus Natsupoi. Now, this is one of those matches where Yuna Mizumori is determined to find ways to win the high speed belt. She has already faced wrestlers who've been in there, but you're looking at one who is now the current co-leader who used to win that belt, and she was good at it, and that is, of course, Natsupoi. Of course, Natsupoi has to show her what the meaning of high speed. She knows that she's impressed by her, that she has the necessary skills, but she uses her ability as a powerhouse into her high speed, which is something that's been unique with her. She may not have, of course, the same kind of capability as Natsupoi, as Meisida, Starlight Kid, or Azumi, but she is her unique way, and I think that's what Natsupoi loves about her, knowing that she has all the tools she needs. All she needs to do is to believe in herself that she can do it, knowing that she had the necessary skills, but she has to prove herself that she can do it. But unfortunately, Natsupoi picked up the win on a roll-up on her, and just like that, it was over. But in the post-match, Natsupoi asked her to make a promise, no matter what, that she'll do whatever it takes to prove herself that she earned her way to become to win that high speed belt, and that's something I'm sure Tam would definitely be proud of her. Despite that she's not there. Now, our main event is the Artist belts. Stars Momokoko, Saida, and Hanan became the first challengers against Hate members Fukigen Def, Rina, and Konami. Now, this is one match that was important. As you all know, Hanan and Hinan are both sisters. Rina has determined to prove that she can surpass Hanan. Rina is trying to prove herself. Hey, big sis, I'm not going to allow you to be the big star in Stardom. It's going to be me. I mean, she has proven herself during the 5-star Grand Prix when and not to mention she did defeated her at the Cinderella tournament. And that's one of those things where Rina feels, I'm the one who's going to surpass you. And that's exactly what she's trying to do. But however, Hanan ended up in the clutches of the sleeper hold by Konami, and just like that, she gave up. And of course, Konami made fun of her, saying, "You're not even better than Rina." We all know that Konami gets away with it by cheating her way through no matter what. But sooner or later, someone is going to give her a kick in the head for that. But that's only a matter of time when that does. But as of right now, we are done with Stardom. Let's do our last review, which is, of course, NXT. Final review, NXT. Now, at some point before the show even began, there's been videos clipping when the arrival of Trick Williams, you see Eric Young, you see TNA talent making their way, which was very unusual, but we'll get to that. Now, our first match was a lights out match between both Miles Bourne and Lexis King. Remember, Lexis King has been calling Miles Bourne a fraud, that he can hear things, he's not deaf. And of course, Ava had enough with this crap, not to mention, he tricked his way out of the blindfold, and Lexis King thought, well, I'm done with him, I can move on. Boom! Nope, sorry, it's not over until he says so. So I think that's the one thing Lexis King underestimated him. And this is where you have to, of course, you put your body on the line completely. And that's the one thing I don't know if Lexis King had any comments about that. But, however, what was crazy, Miles Bourne applied the Born Again through a table right at him. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was done. But the real question I asked myself, is this finally over, or will Lexis King decide, I won't let it over until I win? That sort of thing. We don't know. We'll just wait and see what happens. Now, Mr. Stone and the Evolve Prime Minister, Stevie Turner, were on the phone with Ava because they're feeling nervous about what they've been seeing. As I mentioned, TNA talent has been coming. So Mr. Stone has been asking, Ava, did you invite TNA talent? Now, she's saying that she couldn't hear what was going on because of the phone static. So that is something we don't know. I mean, we don't know where she's at the moment. But yeah, but we'll see. Now, we did see, of course, Ethan Page make his way to the ring to do a promo. And then he saw Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. presence, of course. As you probably can guess, Ethan Page is determined to win the championship that he currently possesses. But what he didn't realize, this was not actually Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. It was Tavion Heights. So, I don't know what happened right there, but it worked in his favor. So, if I was Ethan Page, don't overlook Tavion Heights. You may claim that you can beat him, but don't underestimate him. Now, Jordan Grace was in the back, of course, minding her business until Ariana Grace got involved. And of course, the match was set between those two later. Ariana Grace was trying to, I don't know, maybe keep the peace. I'm not sure, but that's exactly what happened. Now, our next is the finals of the WWE Women's Speed Tournament. Whoever walks out will face Sol Ruka for the championship. And we have Candice LeRae and Lainey Reed. Now, Lainey Reed has been so far making it this far, and of course, Candice LeRae being the first ever women's speed champion is determined to win the belt back. But unfortunately, Candice LeRae ended up with the Southern Hospitality by Lainey Reed, and just like that, it was over. Now, Jada Parker, as you know, had some words to say towards Lash Legend, so you probably can guess this is going to be very interesting between those two. Now, Lyria Valkyria was having a great time to see Tatum Paxley, who she hasn't seen for quite some time. Now, while they were talking, if you guys noticed, behind them, we did see Steve Macklin and Victoria Crawford passing through. And then, of course, a Hank and Tank were just passing around. Like, we saw them here. Like, oh, there they are. So they're basically chasing. But however, Easy Dame showed up, telling her, that, she's not your friend after she left you. But of course, Tatum Paxley was happy to see her. Now, our next match was Jordan Grace versus Ariana Grace. So, the Battle of the Graces. But you probably can guess this match ended when, of course, Jordan Grace applied a direct effect onto her, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it's over. However, during the post match, we did see Stax carry Ariana Grace. If you guys know this or not, in real life, those two are in fact dating. But, however, while that was happening, we did see Blake Monroe with some toys. We're talking about trash cans and kendo stick. But of course, Mr. Stone and Stevie Turner had enough of this mess, so they decided in No Mercy. Stevie said a weapons allowed match. But however, Mr. Stone decided, you know what? Let's take this match into a weapons steel cage match. Which of course there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, that type of scenario. So it's gonna be a brutal match when we see it. Now Andre Chase was having a nice conversation with both Raya Connors and Cale Dixon until guys from NASCAR, Cole Custer and Sam Mayer showed up out of nowhere. They were talking about how big fans they are, and not to mention of say his name. And then of course Darkseid showed up, saying you better not say I don't even know his name. And of course Cale Dixon, being dumb that he is, he goes, his name is Joe Hendry. Say his name is. He appears. He just showed up out of nowhere. So that's exactly what happened. Now, we did see an interview with Lainey Reed with Kelly Kincaid talking, of course. Lainey Reed is prepared to win the Speed Championship from Sol Ruka. So we'll see what that happens right there. Now, Jay-Z Jane even showed up along with the rest of Fatal Influence talking to her. But she made her way to the ring by herself to confront Lola Vice. And of course, Jay-Z Jane took things a little too far, calling out about how she's going to disappoint her family, and she gave her a back fist, and just like that, it was completely done. Now, in the back, we did see Javon Evans having an interview with Kelly Kincaid until a bit of a ruckus happened. You see Jasmine Nix lying down, so we don't know what that is, but of course, Jay-Z Jane and Fallon thought it's time to get rid of the dead weight. So that's what happened. Now, our main event is the winner takes all match. The TNA World Championship and the NXT Championship are on the line. Trick Williams defends the TNA Championship against Oba Femi, who is the current NXT Champion. So there's a lot of temper flares, but we did see Moose, various talent from TNA coming out. We did see, of course, Jesse McKay and Casey Lee of The Inspiration. And then, of course, we did see Frankie Kazarian, Steve Macklin, and then out of nowhere, Matt Cardona. But Mike Santana showed up and just, been on the commentary section and all that. And of course, Eric Young was there too. So basically the match was people were focusing on the match, but of course the attention was turned towards, of course, the TNA wrestlers being there, until Trick Williams decided to slap Mike Santana, and this match, I believe, turned into a no contest until TNA talent showed up to attack Trick Williams, and then, of course, the rest of the NXT roster. While this mayhem was happening, here comes Ricky Saints, who is eyeing his set on the NXT Championship. So that means this whole thing between Trick and Obafemi is probably done. But now the playing field is clear for Ricky Saints for the NXT Championship against Obafemi. So we'll see what happens, because right now it's total non-stop chaos, as of course Vic Joseph said. So we'll see what happens. Of course, this Thursday, and of course next week on Tuesday. But however, don't forget, No Mercy is this Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But right now, let's move on to our last and final thing, news update. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. As always, let's begin with upcoming events. MLW, as you know, will have their upcoming event on October 4th in Long Beach Slaughterhouse. However, Shotzi Blackheart will be there to make the official new talk show debut of the Graveyard Shift, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen there. Now, West Coast Pro has announced for their upcoming event on the 1st of November how the West was won. And they have, of course, legend himself, Yushin Thunder Liger. So if any of you New Japan fans in the Bay Area were planning to go see him, go see him. And then finally, as you know, recently we mentioned that Andrade El Idolo is now officially a free agent. He's no longer part of the W. He quietly left. I did mention he will be at the Crash next month. However, it was mentioned now by House of Glory that he'll be making his presence known in Super Clash on the 14th of November. So mark your calendars. Now, on the developments. In the recent Marigold event, Shinno, many of you know, she is the 16 or 17-year-old girl who made her official debut. Facing off Masakurai has suggested to have a match against her close friend Kizuna Tanaka on the next event in Ryogoku. I think it's called Grand Destiny on the 20th of November, I believe. And she suggested a very interesting thing. She suggests, let's have our moms, she's saying, let's have our moms be our seconds. Of course, Shino's mom is, of course, Michiko Mukai. And of course, there's Kizuna Tanaka's mom, Yumi Fukara. For those who don't know, those two ladies were tag team partners back in the day when Rossy Ogawa had a different promotion years ago, long before Stardom and Marigold. And it's interesting that these two are going to face off each other because they know each other too well since they were kids. They grow up, and that's something I'm definitely invested to see. All Japan Pro Wrestling has announced Odyssey Joan and, of course, Zion. Many of you know former NXT talent and WWE. They are now the new All Japan Pro Wrestling World Tag Team Champions. So basically, since they were released, now they're doing something cool in their lives. Masha Slamovich is now currently under investigation by TNA due to allegations of domestic violence between her and, of course, her ex-boyfriend. You may know him as the Death Samurai Akira. Now, I did not know that those two broke up. I've been wondering about that for quite some time, but we don't know what's going to happen then. I know that there's been people like this, they do some investigation, but we still don't know exactly what TNA is going to do. We know Masha Slamovich will be facing, of course, Ash by Elegance for the Knockouts World title at Victory Road, but we'll see what happens. Now, as many of you may or may not have been aware of this, September 14th is a special day for one particular individual, Chanyota. Many of you know her. She was the girl who you guys know that she was involved in the adult industry in Japan. Was wrestling during the same time she was doing this, and she just celebrated her fourth year anniversary since she debuted. Basically, she debuted on September 14th, 2021, and we're in 2020. So basically, that's a pretty good accomplishment. But she did post something on her X account. Let me pull it up for all of you so you guys can hear it, and I'll read it out loud. So, by the way, September 14th marked exactly 4 years since I debuted as a professional wrestler. It's long, but I hope you read it. Be honest, there were countless times I thought about quitting. I was overcoming conscious on my own background, worry about how how wrestling fans saw me and how other wrestlers perceived me. I'm assuming people dislike me. On top of that, it was tough being in the spotlight because of lack of skills. I was constantly struggling with that gap. At my lowest, I wish no one would look at me, and I didn't want to wrestle. I was wrestling with a sense of despair, feeling exhausted at the time. Looking back, I was very negative and causing trouble for so many people. Even so, thanks to Mr. Mitomi, who lifted me up, my peers or colleagues at the same period, in this case, fellow wrestlers who debuted around the same time, Mr. Yusi and my PV teammates, everyone who got involved, I've been able to continue wrestling until today. I truly think I'm glad I didn't quit. And now I'm a different from my old me. I have unshakable core. There's no despair. Recently, Natsu-san finally told me I no longer give off a sense of despair. LOL. I have now a confidence to keep pushing forward, and from on I'll keep on strengthening my core and changing ahead. So it's great that she did not quit. I mean, I know people would have looked at her differently because we know she's been lacking the experience. We know she has been growing up, and I'm glad that everybody, including her boss, he told me, he told me has been Kabuto Mitomi has been helping her out, and everybody else in her team been giving her a lot of help to get overcome it. And I'm very happy for her that she got people by her side, and I think that's something that she needs. Now, interesting things with MVP. The first one, many of you may have heard this and may be shocked. He said that he has zero respect for Triple H. Now, this is what exactly he said. I stand by those words. I have zero respect for him, personally or professionally. And when I tell you why, then people will be like, okay, that makes sense. So, there's that. Now, MVP even went on to talk about Stevie Richards' assessments towards Kyle Fletcher. As you know, Kyle Fletcher, he talked about how Kyle Fletcher should have been in NXT and that sort of thing. And this is what he says. This is what MVP said about Stevie Richards. I like Stevie Richards. I would consider him somebody that I could get along with. His assessment are wrong. Kyle Fletcher comes to me all the time and asks me advice on promos. Periodically, he'll come and ask me to watch the match, and I'll give him a feedback. I'll volunteer feedback to anyone who asks for it. I don't ground to talent offering it, but I feel seek me out, ask me for 20 years of experience based advice, and I'll give it to them. My nickname for Kyle Fletcher is Superstar because he looks like a star, but he's still young. He got a lot to learn, and I think any of us at his age hadn't figured it out yet. And what includes Stevie to say that there's no one there to mentor him. I would call Edge and no one. I would call Christian no one. I wouldn't call Shelton Benjamin or Bobby Lashley no one. I think there are quite a few people there that can teach him quite a bit. So Stevie Richards thinks of him that thinks that he could do better, but I have to say, if MVP is helping Kyle Fletcher to succeed, that's good that he has someone by there. I mean, you cannot assume that these wrestlers in AEW are not succeeding, that they had people who've been advising them, giving good advice. I mean, you look at, of course, Darby Allin. He's been getting advice from Sting before he retired and that sort of thing. Now, many of you may know this tournament by Sendai girls called the Jaja Uma, which is, of course, a tournament for the junior competitors, wrestlers who are in a 3-year base learning experience. Last year, we did see, of course, talent from Stardom and making their way, of course, like Rian and Aya Sakura, who, of you all know, she was the Sendai Girls Junior Champion. And now more names have been mentioned for the upcoming. It includes both Stardom and Marigold. Now, here's who's representing for what group to be part of it. First, we have Sendai Girls. We have Spike Nishimura and Yuna, who is a current junior champion. For 2AW, Yuka Suzuki. Pro Wrestling Evolution, Soy. Ceiling, Midia Koga and Yuki Funa. T-Hearts, Miku Kane. Marigold, Rhea Seto. And finally from Stardom, from Stardom we have Rian and Emma Maishima. So this will be Rian's second year to participate. And finally, Marvelous, the two rookies, Sora Ayame and Senka Akatsuki. So that's pretty much it, who's going to be participating in these tournaments. So I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen until that is broadcast. So for now, we'll end things here and let's call it a day. Alright, so I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we do have AEW Dynamite and WWE Evolve, so we'll see how things will go. As you know, AEW Dynamite are now entering their fallout after, of course, All Out in Toronto. We'll see what happens until then. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of surprises taking place, but for now, we'll end things right there. If there's any other reviews, I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, I'll say this, that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye Mwah. And have a nice day.